And now we welcome our very first foreign speaker of today, Samantha Evans from the UK, to hold her presentation about the UK's tech ecosystem. Sam has worked in international growth for over 15 years, helping high-growth tech companies scale and succeed in new markets and building international accelerator programs for governments. Sam, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can understand my Manchester accent, and you can't differentiate that from the rest of the UK. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. So I am the co-founder of a company called FCX, Founders Connects. I've worked with companies internationalizing for the last 15 years. 8 of those years I was in Silicon Valley in San Francisco, working with high-growth tech companies expanding to Europe and Asia. And I have most recently been in London working with Tech Nation, which is one of the UK's biggest accelerators, which was UK government funded for 10 years. That's recently been acquired by a private organisation, but I will be going through some of that information about how that worked and how it helped the ecosystem. I've worked with over 20 different governments internationally, helping them grow their tech ecosystems, helping them grow accelerators, working with corporates, doing tech scouting, and many other things, with my co-founder, who is an entrepreneur. I was asked today to do a presentation on the last 10 years of the tech ecosystem in the UK. Thankfully, Google for Startups and Tech Nation had recently published a report on this. So I will be showing some of that data.
Over the past decade, the UK tech economy has grown from a promising cluster of startups on a mission to solve big problems into a sophisticated, maturing sector that employs nearly 5 million people across the country. The Google for Startups and Tech Nation A Decade in UK Tech report traces the ongoing evolution of the tech economy and outlines some ambitions for our shared future. In 2012, the UK tech ecosystem was valued at $53.6 billion. That number has grown almost 20 times to beyond $1 trillion today. Tech lies at the core of everyday transactions, products, services and experiences. The UK ranks 4th in the world for tech investment, and 2021 was a record year. Investment in R&D intensive technologies like AI, machine learning and quantum computing has increased 33 times since 2011. Nearly half of all impact tech investment was made in companies tackling climate change and working towards a net zero future. Many net zero startups could also be classified as deep tech, and their solutions could leapfrog existing technologies with transformative outcomes. Nearly 5 million people work in UK tech startups and scale-ups, more than double the 2.81 million working in the tech economy in 2011. And it's not only engineers that work in tech. Over 36% of jobs in the digital economy are in non-tech roles, like marketing, product, user experience, HR and finance. But tech has far to go in other ways. In 2020, 50% of the labour market were female. In tech, it was half that at 26%. Whilst tech is more diverse in the wider labour market in the UK, the sector still isn't representative of the UK population, and access to senior roles and funding for underrepresented founders needs to be addressed. The UK tech sector continues to drive the economy, with valuations set to reach $2 trillion in the next decade. These sustained levels of investment, both early and later stage, should enable deep tech innovation to lead us through the crucial next decade of tech and beyond. UK tech has an opportunity to drive balanced and equitable growth in the UK, building world-leading tech companies of the future that tackle big societal problems.
So we do that well. We do marketing well, right? So let's have a look back. 10 years ago when this all started, we had an ambition to be one in the top 5 tech hubs in the world, and people laughed at us. They were like, you've just had a crash, a financial crash, you've got no jobs, there's not enough talent, you've got nothing in the UK. So, a lot of things contributed to the fact that we've got to this stage now. So let me just talk through some of the different aspects of what happened. So we can go back to kind of 2007. There was a financial crash in the UK, and that actually accelerated a lot of activity politically for us in the tech community, because they needed a good story, the politicians needed a good story, so they started to look at the tech ecosystem. And it all started in the east side of London. Thank you. Where in 2010 there was only 85 tech companies in Shoreditch in London, if anyone's been to visit. It looks very differently now. I actually moved to San Francisco not long after that, in 2012, when there was 5,000 tech companies. And when I saw this data, I thought, that can't be right. What happened? So I really dug into it. I spoke to a lot of people when I came back and said, you know, what's happening here? Why is this jumped so quickly? And does anyone know what happened in London in 2012? We had the Olympics, the Olympic Games, and they needed a legacy for all of that money, all of those buildings. So the government invested £350 million into the Shoreditch area of London to help those hubs. We had tax incentives. We had accelerators. We got commitment from Amazon, Cisco, big American companies, Google, to set up big co-working spaces. So that's why it jumped so quickly in that time. I'm going to go through some of the data, the most important data from the report, but the report is online, which I can share with you at the end. So please do look into that, and it shows in a lot more detail all of the different areas. We all talk about unicorns, really important. When I left the UK, there was about 20 unicorns. Now there's over 125 unicorns across the UK. And in more than 20 cities, there's at least one unicorn. That includes Manchester, Oxford, Cambridge, Edinburgh, all of these places outside of London. And what I believe helps with what I saw also in Silicon Valley is that the reinvestment back into the community, back into the ecosystem by these companies that are training people, they're giving ambition, all about perception. And we see this in all of the growth, especially in the investment, that perception matters. We needed a really good marketing campaign to tell people what was happening in the ecosystem so that more international investors came into the UK and said, yes, we believe in these companies early on. Let's get some investment into there. But it's not just about the kind of tech unicorns and those big data points. It's about people's lives. There's 5 million people working in tech now in the UK. That's grown significantly over the last 10 years. But it's not just technical jobs, just as Kitty was saying earlier. It's really important to understand that there's the finance, the sales, the marketing, the product. And there's a lot of people working in technical roles in non-tech companies. So this data is showing that that's really widespread across all of the UK now. And it's really important that that's people's lives. It's really showing the social and cultural changes that we've had in the UK, that people believe that it's worth the risk going to a startup now, because I've seen successes happen in the last 10 years. Of course, diversity. We know that the more diverse your company is, the more profitable it is, and there's lots of data out there to show. But we've got a long way to go in the UK. We still struggle. I speak at a lot of events because I'm a woman. I've lived in Silicon Valley. I'm back in London, you know. So I think we need a lot more of this. We need a lot more around underrepresented founders, a lot of funding around this. It's such a small amount of money that's invested into women or into black founders, for example. Tech Nation, we have a program that is called Libra, which is for underrepresented founders, and it's a real ambition for Tech Nation to grow that. The salaries, again, there's a huge gap that we're seeing between tech salaries and the average salary of non-technical jobs or non-tech jobs. And I think that that's another area of the UK that we're really trying to bolster to help people understand that you can go and work in a tech company, earn a good salary, change your life by being in sales, in marketing, in other kind of roles. And it's really the international investment. We had more than 74% of our investment in 2021 came from overseas. And again, that's all about the perception, the marketing, the good stories that we've got, the reinvestment from the entrepreneurs who have already exited companies. And I think that's really important for us. However, the seed investment has decreased, and that's a worry for us in the next 10 years because we want investment into those R&D, deep tech, IP-heavy companies. But how did we do this? So, you know, we'll hear a lot today, and I've heard over the last few days of being here that it is about everyone being involved. Tech Nation organisation I still represent internationally. I was brought in to bring their international division to help our companies internationalise. That was after 8 years of the accelerator, 1,000 companies, 30% of them are tech unicorns, and they didn't have an international department. So I came in to help build those international accelerators. We needed the 10 years, we needed that stability. We had the same CEO who was incredible for 8 or 9 of those years, who stayed, who pushed, who continued to grow. We are across all of the UK, we're not just based in London. We have the big tech companies who have invested into our country in all parts of the UK. We have the community support. This is small, green, off the ground kind of stuff that's happening. We have local and central government. We have the Department for International Trade. Christina is here today. They are all over the world supporting UK companies grow internationally for free to help them with their business development. We have all of those people also promoting the UK, helping us attract these international companies in. We have a global talent visa, which Tech Nation still is the endorser. We're looking at who's out there, who needs a visa. You don't need to have a job to get the global talent visa. Come to the UK, we want the talent. We lose a lot of our talent through the brain drain with visa issues. So the government changed that so that we could keep our PhDs and our students in the UK. Of course, it's the investment, scale-up, global data company helping the UK government understand what companies need and what our scale-ups need. London Tech Week grew from a small summit like this 10 years ago, and now it's an absolute huge. Thousands and thousands of international people go to London Tech Week every year. So it's all of these things contributing together to kind of help the ecosystem grow. But please do have a look more at the data on the website. So you'll find it on technation.io. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to send information through to anyone who is interested. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the ecosystem across this region today. Thank you.